Hi guys, how are you? I hope that you're experiencing such a wonderful, beautiful sunny day as I have today. You can tell in my back probably. The house is filled with sun. It's so wonderful. I've been out in the morning with Alfie for 1.5 hours at the beach for a long, long walk, and by now it's really cute because there are always like the same people coming and walking their dogs at the beach in the morning. And she has two friends now. One is I'm really bad with dog breeds. I think it's a King Charles Cavalier Spaniel or something. It's one of those like really long, never-ending breed names. But she loves that dog. And another one, to me, it looks exactly the same, just like 5 times bigger, so I have no idea what that is. And I posted a little video on my Instagram today, which I'm going to put in my Insta highlight stories. There is an Alfie folder. So just in case, if you're curious and want to see, there is like a little video about it in my highlights, but adorable. Now she's exhausted. She's actually just lying on the couch in your back, and she's not even paying attention to me talking. She's like, I've had it. There was 1.5 hours. I had food. I'm happy. I'm just going to take a nap for the next hour, and I'm going to utilize that time. Even though it's beautiful outside, it is cold. It's bitter cold and the ground is frozen. I actually had another project in mind that I wanted to do with you, but that involves some digging, and clearly that is not a thing that I can't just do. Maybe tomorrow, because the temperature is supposed to be a little milder, so I'm just going to postpone it. And actually, to be fair, it's not a bad thing because I have another project crying out to be done, and I was just postponing it for the entire time. And you might even see it here waiting on my kitchen counter. There is a seed tray and there are some pots empty. So what I want to do is transplant some of the perennials that I started off really early in the year in January. So just in case if you haven't seen that video, when it comes to perennials, I start them off always really early in January because they just take a little longer time to really establish and build a good root system. And this is what you want to have on a perennial to make sure that you give them all the time to develop great fibrous roots to build strong plants. And this is what I'm going to do today. Here are my artichokes. So I'm going to walk you through in a moment. And I think I might also even show you the annual seedlings, my vegetable seedlings, because everything germinated, everything looks really well. Some things take a little longer, like the peppers take long, but they look good. One thing, and maybe that's user error, I'm not sure, because that happens to me every single year. My cabbages all look terrible. Let's face it, they look like really long stringy spaghettis with germination leaves on top of it. They start to collapse and bend. I think I can still salvage them, but I'm like, what am I doing so wrong about it? Maybe they're just not the right one to start off indoors. Maybe that is the thing. I'm going to try it later on in the year also outdoors, and maybe that will do the job and help. But yeah, I'm going to show them as well. I always say like I show you the triumphs and the tragedies, and I'm not sure if there is a tragedy to happen there. All the rest I'm quite happy with. All the rest I'm like, yeah, they look good, and I know that this is bound to work out. But before I show you those seedlings, I will start with a little project. Whoop, here. Before I start with the transplanting, I just quickly want to show you what the situation is like. So I've got this entire seed tray full. In the front row, you can tell there are some tiny seedlings here. So these are autumn anemones. They look a little sad and flimsy in here. I have a second seed tray with autumn anemones, and they look 10 times better. But yeah, that doesn't really bother me that much. So because I still had space in here, so I thought, okay, just fill it up. You might tell most of the plants look really good. They have produced a second set of leaves, and some of them, you can see the germination leaf starts to wilt basically, or some of them have mushy germination leaves. So this is definitely a good time to transplant them. And you can also tell some of the seedlings decided just to die back totally. Or there is another one, where is it? This one here. So it started with a top growth with like normal true leaves, but they also kind of went mushy. This is also why you start with more plants than you actually need, because if all of these would really germinate perfectly and make great, full, big-sized plants, that would be way too much. I couldn't use all of them possibly. So I'm really happy with the result that I have. So two different varieties. The first one is Imperial Star. I think this is a quite traditional one. It produces green fruit, quite big ones. And the germination rate was amazing on this one. So every single seed came up, which made me very happy. The second variety, that is called, where is it? Here, Ademaro. That produces purple fruit. So I was really intrigued about these. You sometimes see them, or at least I see them sometimes, like on the market square. I've never tried them though, but I think they're just like visually pleasing. Even if I'm not going to use them for cooking or anything, I think they just make really lovely plants. The germination rate was all right with them. Like 50% came up, and those that came up, they're looking fantastic. I mean, look at this plant here, like the leaves, 2 true leaves, absolutely healthy, strong, wonderful. But the modules are a little small for artichokes because they develop strong roots, so this is really a perfect time to get in here and transplant them. I've prepared already 2 trays with plastic pots and some soil, and then I always utilize the pots again, so I'm not going to throw them away after this. I really use them as long as possible, and obviously I have a bucket with some more soil here. And not to forget my very precious special tool whenever I work with seedlings and I transplant them, a chopstick. So you might always come across these like very fancy tools that some people advertise, and I'm telling you, forget about it. Just use an average chopstick. It comes for free most of the time, and this is going to do the job just perfectly. I just cleaned the kitchen and I'm working with soil in here, so maybe that wasn't the smartest move, but whatever. The vacuum cleaner is just around the corner, so I think I'll take advantage of it. I just looked at it again because I put the seeds for the first time in a very long time in these seed pots made of natural fiber. And in theory, how that works is like you put it in there, you take the pot and put it into the ground because anyway, it's going to decompose. And I was just looking at them, and I think it will be a little difficult trying to get anything out because when you use a plastic pot, normally when you have a root system that starts to develop, you can kind of try and pull it out eventually. It might hold, but this is a little different story. So I'm going to talk you through now from a little distance, and then I just take the camera and just put it up close again so you see up close again how it works. In theory, how you do it. When you transplant any seedling, you always touch it by one of the germination leaves. And the reason for it is you don't want to break the stem because then the plant is going to die, and you do not want to break any of those fresh true leaves that just formed. The germination leaf is not needed. So if you damage the germination leaf, you don't do any harm. This is really not bad. You always want to make sure that the stem, obviously, and the first set of true leaves stay intact. So in theory, I would come in with my chopstick and try and wiggle around it, but the entire pot starts to disintegrate already. So I think what I'm going to do is just get in here. Yeah, that is so much easier. Oh yeah, and maybe on the next one I can really show you up front. The roots start coming and piercing through this pot. So I think what I will really do is keep it in its pot. Really leave it in here, not even trying to get it out because the first roots are really coming out, and I think I would just disturb the roots if I would do anything else to it. So all I'm going to do now is take this, no worries, I'm going to show you in a second up front how it looks, put it in here where my soil is, and just fill up the entire pot all the way around with some fresh soil. And that's all there is to it. And always try and make sure that you don't damage your seedling, because then that was it. And this is definitely not what I want. I mean, I want to have like lovely, fresh, new plants. Number one, so plenty more to come. So now up front again, up close again. So if you would transplant anything, again, just so you see it better, this is the set of germination leaves. So you would always just like touch the plant by the set of germination leaves, which I'm not really going to need to do now. But still try and be careful because they start to like bend a little bit. And what I do now, since these pots are really soft, I could literally just break it apart quite easily. And yes, here as well, you can see, hopefully you can see, I try to come closer now. Can you tell? Some first roots are poking through, which is really good, because that means I could really use the pot as it is and just put it in here in one of my prepared pots already, like that. Let me just change it quickly. Here it goes. Here comes the bucket of soil. And now all I'm going to do is come in here and just fill it up all the way around basically. And of course I made a mess immediately. And then firm it in with your thumbs to make sure that you don't have air pockets as usual. And this is all there is. So now the plant should be really happy in here and continue growing on. So this is what I'm going to do with the entire train. I work my way through and transplant all of them. I've transplanted everything and the plants look really well. All of them had like really good fleshy roots already. They were poking through that like natural fiber pot from all sides and angles. So I was really happy about it, and it was definitely about time. So this is a good size, I think, for the plants now to grow on, and maybe, well, not maybe, they need to stay in there up until I plant them outdoors, because otherwise I have no space of storing them. So yeah, this is how they're going to look. I'm going to give you a closer look in a moment. And the wonderful thing, obviously, is since I was transplanting all of them, so even the darker artichokes that I was resowing the other day, they had like only germination leaves, but they already had like roots coming through the pot as well. And I could see that they just start forming true leaves. So I thought, yeah, I'm just going to transplant all of them, because that left me now with almost an entire vacant seed tray, the green one in the back there. Woohoo, perfect, because I'm going to utilize, definitely going to sow some more flowers, probably zinnias, I think, later on today. But what I want to do now first is just give you a closer look at these, and then maybe also at some of those that are sitting here on this windowsill. I've got a lot more on the other windowsill in your back, but I just do it bit by bit. I'm just going to show you those, and then I'm going to have a lovely lunch. Let me give you a quick tour on how everything looks now. So these are the artichokes, looking all proud and happy in here. And I use these black pots from some of my previous perennial orders, and I always try and keep them in the same size, because this is so convenient now that I have a lot of those pots on the same size, and I could use them over and over again year after year. And they look so nice. I can't wait. I think it's a good size of pot. They really have the ability and opportunity to root in well now. And I'm not sure if I mentioned it, I was just using a general multi-purpose soil, whatever, like a normal garden soil, basically, not one of those germination soils to pot them on, and this is how you should always do it. Here's my empty seed tray, only one row of tiny seedlings from the autumn anemones. But I think when they have more space, maybe they'll be happier now. Maybe they were just like, I don't know, shaded by the artichokes. And then onto what's sitting here on the windowsill. I hope it works with the light. First thing that excites me so much, first time I'm ever growing it, Riccinus, starts with a really good germination in general. They've really come into life. Then I have 2 rows of cucumbers here, and out of 4 cells did not germinate, so I was resowing, but the rest looks really nice and good. Then celery, tiny little plants. Look at them, so cute. But in general, a really good germination, so I'm intrigued to see what happens there. Here, I still have a dome on because these are my peppers, and peppers take a little longer to germinate. So if I just lift it, you see the chilies. There's already sign of germination, at least at the red variety. On the right, there is a purple chili, no sign of germination at all. And if I just move on, peppers, you see something poking through here and there, but still I leave the cloche on just for the well-being. But I already started some peppers in Düsseldorf. So this is a mixed tray. I have Rebecca Cherry Brandy on here, really good germination. They start with their true leaves already. Maybe you can see it, I hope you can. Some fennel looking a little stringy, but for me this is normal, I think. Like last year it looked the same, it went really well. Here are 2 rows of peppers, like here and there, and they just started to germinate, and they look well good. And now comes a tragedy of the first row of cabbages. This is red cabbage, and I'm not sure if it's worth trying to rescue them at all. I don't know. I really need to see. And if I continue, there's more of the disaster zone. There's something lovely first. So here are my tomatoes. And they look good. They look good and happy and not stringy at all, but now if I just show you from this angle, Brussels sprouts and cauliflower, I mean, ugh, that is not good. This is really not what you want. I mean, out of it, there's one cauliflower, that one there, where I say, oh, that looks quite good. But the rest of it, oh well, let's see. The eggplants, or the aubergines, depending on the variety, there's jackpot. This is in this row here. It's a purple one. They start to germinate, and the white one, not really a lot happening yet. Maybe it's depending on the variety. And then the last one I want to show you, this is just a mixed thing of agastache at the front, really well germination, and onions in the back also looking really happy. You guys, that is it for today's video. I hope you had fun and enjoyed it. I certainly did. I really want to share each and every single moment with you, especially projects like these here, like when I put the first seed into the soil, how they germinate, how they look, then I transplant them up to the point when I put them in the landscape, and hopefully I can harvest some lovely artichokes this year, or at least enjoy the flowers if I don't feel like eating them, because they are an amazing ornamental plant and they don't only belong in a vegetable garden, I think. So let's see where I put them. Maybe some of them will also find a way into the perennial borders in the upper garden. Which reminds me, looking at stuff like this, I started off all of these seeds, so I better get back there and really start working on my vegetable area at the slope, which is kind of like screaming at the moment, like do something, but step by step. Today what I'm going to do is first I'm going to have a quick late lunch, and then I'll head for the garden center, because I still have some lovely spring plants sitting on the driveway waiting to do something with them, but I really want to amp up my game and have more, so fingers crossed I find something here in the garden centers today. It's a little early in the year still, so I'm not sure what I will find. Those I took with me from Düsseldorf, from Germany. But yeah, I just really want to change something. I really just want to make sure that the entire main entrance to the house looks like spring, and I just want to get in there and do something. So this is pretty much one of the future projects in the making today. But another day, I hope that you have an amazing day today, and I would really love to welcome you in my garden or one of my videos very soon again. Up until then, have a great day, guys. Bye.